Good afternoon, everyone. Ako po si Denise Tan. It is already shaping up to be one eventful day and we'll tell you all about that in the next hour, so do stick around.
Do stick around. Ako po si Lourdes Vera. Ika ng kasibihan, love is lovelier the second time around. Ganyan din ba sa impeachment? How does that sound? Ito na po ang programang Abanger sa Botohan sa Batasan. That is right. Ito na po ang Afternoon Delight.
Okay, today is Monday, May 11, 2026, the day after Mother's Day. We do hope that you had a memorable celebration kasama inyong mga...
Hello sa mami mo pala.
Mami, hello.
Hello, doktora.
Hi.
Ano pong niregalo ng anak ninyo sa inyo? Sana po, tinreat niya po kayo.
Amin na lang yun. Oo. But speaking of Mother's Day, ay teka, Happy Mother's Day po pala sa lahat po ng mga ina, tumata yung ina. Ano pa ba? How do you say?
Mga ina nila lahat.
Oo. Mga... Ayoko sabihin.
Yung mothers.
Kahit lusot, ayoko na
Oo.
sabihin. Okay.
Maraming anyo. Madaling
Correct.
maging nanay pero mahirap magpakananay. Tandaan natin yan. Pero sa lahat siguro ng species sa mundong to, no? Talagang walang iba na kasing astig, kasing dakila, at kasing tiyaga ng mga ina nyo.
Okay, Happy Mother's Day po sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay po kayo and for...
Alam mo ba napakalungkot ng roots ng Mother's Day?
Ay, bakit?
Ang founder niyan, part siya ng isang parang feminist movement. Parang to shift the focus away from the patriarchy. Ang isang Amerikana ay, basta ang ending nito, nakipaglaban siya at eventually she had to fight the commercialization of Mother's Day kasi nagiging bentahan na ng mga bulaklak, mga regalo, mga gifts, ganyan. So talagang nilabanan niya lahat yan. Ang ending, alam mo ba, ang nag-champion ng Mother's Day died na hindi mother. Tapos sa isang siya, namatay siya yat. Tapos yung sumagot ng kanyang ironically, sumagot ng kanyang hospitalization ay yung mga kumpanya ng mga greeting cards, yung mga kumita ng
Yung
Mother's
kumita,
Day.
oo.
Pero she died single, hindi siya naginanay. Pero dahil sa ginawa niya, maraming nakakaalala sa nanay.
And again, speaking of...
Kung hindi naalala to.
Oo nga
Babasahin mo.
Speaking of Mother's
Saan niya kaya
Day,
yun?
ito controversial nga itong post na to, nakita ko rin to kagad Post ni President Bongbong Marcos when he honored his mother, his wife, and his sister. Pero, isang sister lang. Yung isang sister, si Senator Amy Marcos, wala dun sa letrato, dun sa post na pinost ni BBM.
Strictly speaking, may dalawang kulang pa eh. Hindi lang isa eh.
So, lusot naman.
Medyo controversial din yung na yun, yung pag-leave out ng ilang mga pangalan. Pero kasi hindi na nga raw nakilala, di ba?
Oo.
So baka hindi na naalala, hindi na nakilala.
Pero magkaiba yung hindi nakilala sa hindi naalala. Di ba? Baka pwede nating
That sister who does not look like, parang sabi niya, who used to resemble my sister. What exact phrasing ba yun?
Basta,
Parang
hindi niya
ganon.
na nakikilala.
Kasi
Hindi
nga-
nagkakakilala magkakapatid.
Baka hindi na kasi sila magkakamukha. Pero wala sa mukha yan. Speaker President Marcos, he has several activities lined up today, including events for the official visit of Paraguayan President Santiago Peña. Partner, hanggang ngayon, nawiwirduhan pa rin ako pag merong head of state na mas
Na?
bata sa akin. 47 years old lang itong si Peña.
Grabe,
You believe?
Okay.
Pero, at isang economist ito, graduate ng Columbia University at nagtrabaho para sa Central Bank at ng Paraguay at member siya ng Colorado Party or Red Party. Pero hindi ito iniisip din yung red, ha?
Well, it's interesting to, of course, get to know ano nga ba yung mga napag-usapan nila ni PBBM. Para saan nga ba tong visit na to?
State visit, ba't masama ba yun?
Hindi, because sabihin, usually they
foster,
get to, exactly.
Malalaman natin yan
Oo.
mamaya, may makakausap tayo.
Oo.
Para saan nga ba to? At nasa bang Paraguay?
Kailangan ganon?
Paraguay.
Okay,
Para
sige.
Venezuela.
Okay, sige.
Alright, and as we said, siksik ang programa ngayong araw. Let's get on with our story, starting with the headline at this hour, the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. Yan, alas 3 mamaya.
Oo, abangan
Pero
natin yan
ito
maya-maya.
may nag-warning.
Ito na nga, PDP Laban has issued a warning to lawmakers ahead of today's House impeachment vote against Vice President Sara Duterte. The party of former President Rodrigo Duterte said members of Congress who support the ouster move will be prohibited from running under its ticket and will be denied political support or shelter. Pro-impeachment PDP members may even face rivals who will be endorsed by their party in their districts. The party also clarified that this is not a threat but all about, quote, political accountability.
Matindi. Wala mo kung ilan ng miyembro ng House of PDP Laban
Ilan
members
ba
sa
sa
House of
12?
Representatives.
Ilan ba?
Wow, grabe.
12, di ba? Ay, wait lang. Parang dalito na ata ako.
Sabihin natin, mas marami pa sila sa Senado. Ganun na lang. At pag nakita mo yung mga members ng PDP Laban ngayon, well, kung titingnan natin yung website nila, elected members,
Oo.
halos zero. Kasi yung isa, lumipat na ng partido. And then we go where the action happens, the House of Representatives. And we have our mobile journalist, Amy Atienza. Amy, ang sitwasyon dyan, ito ba'y naghahanda na ba ang lahat para sa plenary vote and debates?
Yes, good afternoon, Lord Denise. Nandito tayo sa People's Center ng House of Representatives kung saan nga pinagdausan yung mga pagdinig ng House Justice Committee. And so far, dito sa aking likuran, actually nagkakaroon ng misa, prayer, para nga daw sa manawagan sa accountability, truth, and justice na inorganisa din mismo ng People's Impeachment Movement. Technically, yung members din ito, sila yung mga naghain ng reklamo laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. At tama naman, naghahanda na rin talaga itong Kamara para nga sa mangyayaring botohan mamaya. So far, with the numbers, nasabi sa atin na nasa around 215 na or pwede pang lumagpas sa 215 members of the House of Representatives yung bumoto para sa impeachment ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Ang nakita nga rin based from the last year's processes, syempre may mga pagdinig nga dito sa House Justice Committee kung saan naisiwalat yung sa tungkol sa confidential funds, sa unexplained wealth, yung grave threats na binigay ni VP Sara kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, pati na rin yung bribery mismo ng vice sa Department of Education. So yan yung nakikita din na laman nung 4 na articles of impeachment na plano ang pagbotohan mamaya sa plenary. Pero magiging mahaba pa rin yung proseso nito dahil ito nga misa na nasa likuran ko. After nyan, magkakaroon pa sila ng marcha. Kasama din yung ibang progressive groups na nandito at nakaantabay sa mga mangyayari mismo dito sa Kamara para nga mapakinggan din yung magiging debate o yung magiging pahayag ng mga non-members naman ng House Justice Committee kaugnay nitong impeachment ni VP Sara.
Amy, okay, alam natin na 106 lang ang kailangan out of 318, ano? Pero sabi mo kamo may at least 215 votes na sila. Statement ba ito na halos kaparehong bilang nung last year? At bakit kailangan ba na anong klaseng statement ba ang pinapahatid ng ganito karami na mga boto?
Actually, according sa mga ulat, lagpas na din talaga ng 215. Nung last time, may nakabasa tayo with Representative Terry Ridon, nasa 225 lawmakers na nga din daw yung parang nagpahayag na magpapakita nga sila ng suporta dito sa impeachment ni Vice President Sara Duterte. This just means one thing na katulad nga din nung antabayanan natin na statement ng National Unity Party, may kinakailangan daw kasi ng clear, solid, pati bagong ebidensya laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte para nga maipakita nila yung suporta nila. And parang ganito na nga rin yung nagiging takbo dahil nakita dito sa mga pagdinig sa clarificatory hearings na ginawa ng House Justice Committee yung mga panibagong ebidensya katulad na nga lang nung 125 million pesos na na-dispose ni ni Ramil Madriaga personally at nasabi niya rin dito mismo within one day, pati na rin yung 6.7 billion pesos na red flag bank transactions ni VP Sara, pati nung kanyang asawa na si Attorney Mans Carco. So yan yung mga panibagong ebidensya na nakatulong din daw para nga mas mapagtibay itong impeachment ni VP Sara dito at least sa lower chamber.
Amy, I want to go back to what we reported earlier, yung warnings na lalabas nitong PDP. Ang tawag nila ay political accountability, hindi daw ito threat. Pero ano ba yung mga nakuha mong reactions dyan with their statement? At dagdag ko na rin, Amy, ano-ano ulit yung kailangan na bantayan? Ano yung mga mangyayari bago yung botohan? Baka pwede mo na rin, maybe you can walk us through it as well.
Actually, babalikan ko na lang din kanina. Nagtanong-tanong din ako kung ilan talaga yung members ng PDP Laban. Though wala pang total na exact number. Ang nasabi talaga sa akin na parang in unison, yung parang 18 members daw. So far ngayon yung nakalista na miyembro ng PDP Laban dito sa House of Representatives. At isa nga din sa mga members din na nakikita natin dito ay si Representative Jose Alvarez, pati na rin yung bagong member nila, si Representative Kiko Barzaga. And so far, nakausap na rin natin si Akbayan Party List Representative Percy Sendanya para nga makuha yung reaction niya doon sa statement ng PDP Laban na nagsasabi nga parang blacklisted kung yung mga kongresista na gusto nga sumali sa kanilang partido kung sakaling magpakita sila ng suporta dito sa impeachment laban kay VP Sara at nasabi niya isa itong black propaganda at sana nga raw ay maging mas mapanuri yung mga mambabatas lalo na dahil may mga nailatag ng ebidensya dito sa impeachment at kaugnay ng mga alegasyon laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Tapos bukod pa dyan, Denise, ang magiging mangyayari kasi din mamaya dito mismo sa House of Representatives dahil nga may marcha na inaasahan na gagawin itong mga progressive groups sa aking likuran, pati na rin ng ilang mga mambabatas na nandito, lalo-lalo na yung mga minority members, ay magkakaroon muna ng sponsorship sa plenary. Yan ipangungunahan din ni Committee Chairperson Jervy Luistro. Tapos doon na natin mapapakinggan yung mga pahayag, may mga interpolations o debate pagdating nga dito sa impeachment ni Vice President Sara Duterte. So yung mga non-members ng House Justice Committee na nais magpahayag ng kanilang opinion o kaya ng kanilang stance pagdating nga dito sa impeachment ni VP Sara ay maaring magsabi na ng kanilang mga pahiwatig o kaya ng kanilang mga saloobin tungkol nga dito. At after nyan, magkakaroon na ng nominal voting ang House of Representatives. And yun nga, ang ine-expect lang naman ay 1/3 of the House or 106 votes para nga maipagpatuloy at matransmit itong articles of impeachment sa Senate.
Okay, Amy, last question na lang, pero i-compile ko na yung mga sa bilang ng PDP Laban members, pag chinek, parang 1 hanggang 3 nga lang sinasabi nila, So, wala pa sa website nila officially si Barzaga. Pero potentially si Barzaga na lang, baka 1 na lang na natitira. At kumbaga, may 3 raw na posibleng humarang dito. At wala raw sa dami yan. Kasi sipin mo, si Paolo Marcoleta ang isa dyan yung kapatid ni Pulong Duterte. At least may 3, pero hindi sila members officially ng PDP Laban. Pero ang nominal voting ba, isa-isa ipapaliwanag at maririnig pa rin ba natin yung same arguments na narinig natin nung committee level hearings? Mauulit ba yung mga yan?
Technically, doon sa sponsorship speech nga ni Representative Luistro, doon na natin na-expect na malalatag yung nakapalaog nga doon sa 4 na articles of impeachment na hinanda din mismo ng House Justice Committee. Pagdating dito sa mga debates at interpolations, hindi naman necessary na magbigay ng pahayag lahat ng mga mambabatas dito kasi expected din natin na mas kumpleto sila than before. Mas maraming miyembro ng House of Representatives ang a-attend nga today para magpakita ng kanilang boto dito sa impeachment ni Vice President Sara Duterte. At katulad lang din nung mga proseso na nakikita natin dito mismo sa Kamara, parang sa speakership din, if I'm not mistaken, yung mangyayari na sasabihin lang nila if they are voting for the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte or not.
Abangan natin yan 3:00 mangyayari. Thank you for that update. Babalikan natin maya-maya para kung ano yung nangyari ang ating mojo sa Kongreso, si Amy Atienza.
Now we head on over to the Senate. There is this lingering speculation that VP Sara Duterte's allies will disrupt the looming impeachment trial. That's by replacing Senate President Tito Soto. And for this and other issues, let's bring in our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes. Merimon, ano ba totoo? May kudeta nga ba?
O nga, at ano ba yung mga indications pag mayroon,
Oo.
di ba?
Well, Lord Denise, pagdating kasi sa ganito, tulad sa mga lumipas na panahon, it's either merong mabigat na political issue or topic na maaari makaapekto either sa flow ng public opinion o kaya naman sa dynamics ng mga politiko sa isang institusyon, one way or the other, or dito sa upper chamber, ang Senado. Pero kanina, ang nakausap natin from the Senate minority is si Senator Bongo. Ang sabi niya, wala naman daw napapag-usapan na kudita o kaya naman yung tungkol naman doon sa possible convening ng Senado bilang impeachment court na magpuput to trial si VP Sara Duterte kung aakyat man dito yung articles of impeachment laban sa kanya. Wala rin daw talks na magkakaroon ng paghaharang doon sa pagkukonvene ng Senado bilang impeachment court. A few weeks ago, itong si Senator Robin Padilla din naman, ng very vocal kasi siya na sinasabi niya na kung sakaling magkakaroon ng pagka-convene ng Senado, magkakaroon ng opposition from him. Pero ang sinabi naman ni Minority Leader Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, hindi pa raw nila napapag-usapan ng impeachment, pero should it happen or should the convening possibly take place, susundin daw nila ang due process pati ang batas. Kanina, nakausap din natin from the majority si Senator Erwin Tulfo. Wala raw napapag-usapan na kudita, na pagpapalit sa liderato at kung sakali man, hindi ito kailangan ng shake-up sa leadership kasi nakakahiya raw ito tignan na dahil daw ba sa impeachment kaya magkakaroon ng change of leadership. Ito yung sinasabi ni Senator Erwin na malaking pagpapaliwanag ang kakailanganin mula doon sa mag-initiate ng change of leadership. For Senate President Tito Soto naman, ang nasabi niya over the weekend, narinig niya nga raw na may haka-hakang may kuditang niluluto, pero ipinapapas sa Diyos niya to. At basta siya, he continues to serve at the pleasure of his colleagues at pinangahawakan niya raw ang konstitusyon.
Okay. Normally ba pag parang kompleto sila in attendance, may nangangamoy na ganyan? At naalala ko yung sinabi ni Robin Padilla sa mga report, tagal-tagal yun na rito.
Hindi nyo pa alam yun. Oo.
Oo. Hindi si Mary Mon ang sinabihan nun. Oo, pero kakilala rin natin.
Oo, na trabaho nga raw.
Okay.
Parte raw ng trabaho nila bilang minority ang to oppose kahit ano raw. Kaya hindi lang daw impeachment yan. Kahit na anong mangyayari, parte raw ng kanilang yung tinatawag na function ay mag-oppose. Pero pagdating kasi dito, ang binibilang natin, for example, currently ang composition kasi ng Senate majority, 15 members from the majority, 9 members ang minority. And usually, ang kinakailangan para magkaroon lang ng change ng majority is 50% plus 1. So that's 13 senators para mabuo yung majority. At kung sakali man, yun yung numerong kakailanganin para magkaroon ng shake-up.
Oo.
Pero still ngayon, so far, ang nasabi naman ni Senator Erwin, hindi raw makukuha ng numero ng minority yung kinakailangan.
Mary Mon, alam natin maraming sorpresa, no? Huwag ka na magulat kung may
Yes.
Pero halimbawa, napalitan nga si Tito Sen. Okay, sino kaya yung mga posibleng ipalit? At pag ganun ba, sa kanya pa rin nakasalalay? Or itutuloy pa rin ba yung ideya na yung forthwith, yung definition ng forthwith, the day after, ready na sila? Or ito ba'y nasa decision pa rin ng magiging bago, if ever, na Senate President?
Yung sa Supreme Court kasi ang lumalabas dyan is nasa discretion ng Senado yung magiging timeline na to. Pero it should be done within a reasonable amount of time or period of time. Ang naging interpretation kasi na sinasabi ni SP Soto doon sa forthwith, for him, ang forthwith ibig sabihin the next day. Yung araw na ipadala o matransmit sa Senado yung articles of impeachment, sa susunod na araw, makakapag-convince sila or magko-convince sila bilang impeachment court. Yan din yung sinabi ni Senator Sherwin Gatchalian. Kung sakali nga magkaroon ng botohan today, bukas matatransmit yung article sa Senado and then May 13 Wednesday, maaari makapag-convince sila. At yun so far din ang sinasabi o minamandato ng Constitution pagdating sa pagpo-proceed. Yun nga lang, part din ng conversation kasi ngayon. For example, na-bring up ni Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson na bago sila mag-convene bilang impeachment court, decision pa rin ng 24-member na Senado yung pagkukonvene. So, kung sakali man daw magkakaroon ng motion to either stop o to delay yung pagkukonvene ng Senado bilang impeachment court from the senators, si Senator Ping mismo ang nag-express na iba-block niya raw kung sakaling magkaroon at that point. Kasi last year, kung maalala natin, nag-motion sa session floor si Senator Bato de la Rosa to dismiss yung impeachment laban kay VP Sara Duterte. So still, though kahit sinasabi ni SP Soto na automatic, kailangan nilang mag-convene as impeachment court, hindi sinasabi ni na Senator Sherwin, anything could still happen on the floor.
Nabanggit mo yung pangalang Senator Bato de la Rosa. Mukhang hindi lang, mukhang tinabla daw yung hinatid na sabpina. Una sa bahay, tas ngayon sa opisina.
Hindi daw tinanggap,
Hindi raw tinanggap ng staff kasi wala raw instructions. Ano ba ang ano nito? Sinasabi dito ng Senate leadership?
Well, kanina kasi around 10:30 a.m. dumating dito yung PNP-CIDG at ang sinabi ng opisina ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, dumating nga raw ang PNP-CIDG para mag-iwan ng kopya nung subpoena na hinihintay o pinapatawag itong si Senator Bato de la Rosa na absent since November last year nung humarap sa pulisya by May 14 ngayong Thursday. Hindi raw nila ito officially ni-receive dahil hindi raw sila otorisado at wala raw instructions from the senator. Ang nasabi naman ng CIDG, kung sakali man na hindi magkakaroon ng pagtugon mula sa parte ni Senator Bato, lalo na kung hindi siya magpapakita o yung dudulog na dahil nga doon sa pagpapatawag ng subpoena, maaari raw siyang ma-cite for indirect contempt. Pero still, ang sabi naman nila, antabayanan muna raw nila kung ano yung mangyayari sa mga susunod na araw.
Oo, weird lang na optional yung subpoena na pwede hindi
Di daw
mabilis.
mandatory.
Kasi
Oo.
under penalty, literal na ibig sabihin ng subpoena, no? It compels you to attend. Pero, okay, kapag CIDG or sa ICC ba sinasabi ng kapwa PDP laban member ni Senator Bato na si Robin Padilla na sana raw wala rang aaresto kay Senator Bato kasi if ever dalawa daw silang kumbaga, dalawa raw silang madadali kasi paglalaban niya raw si Senator Bato.
To add din, ang sabi rin tungkol dyan ni Senator Bongo is sa pagkakakilala niya nga raw, isa raw sa pinakamasisipang na senador itong si Senator Bato de la Rosa. Pero even before November pa raw, yung huling pag-uusap nila ng senador, kaya kung sakali, kung meron daw ibang maghahanap o sa pagtatanong kasi ng media kanina, sabi niya, tayo raw ang maghanap dito sa senador para raw malaman yung ibang mga kasagutan sa ating mga katanungan. Pero for Senator Bongo, pinapakita niya yung suporta niya dito kay Senator Bato and sinasabi niya nga kung para raw sa kanya sa lahat nitong mga issue na pumapalibot yung impeachment, yung sinasabing nilulutong kudeta, ang gusto raw ni Senator Bongo ay magtrabaho raw muna.
Oo. Sabi mo, Marymon, birthday mo. Tapos para magkaroon siya ng padala siya ng video para binabati ka sa birthday mo.
Video greet.
Video greeting. Kasi i-trace yung
Oo,
di ba?
yung saan nanggaling yung
IP
video.
address.
Galing ng style mo.
Alright. Okay, maraming salamat sa ulat na yan ng ating mojo sa Senado, Marymon Reyes. So many stories still untold, but first, we need to take a break and as we do so, here are the global headlines from the Associated Press at magbabalik po ang Afternoon of Delight.
This is AP News Minute. Planes carrying passengers off a cruise ship hit with hantavirus are departing Spain's Canary Islands, but authorities are reiterating the threat to the public is low. Iran's state-run media said Sunday the Islamic Republic sent its response to the latest U.S. ceasefire proposal via Pakistani mediators and wants negotiations to focus on permanently ending the war. Russia accusing Kyiv of breaking a U.S.-brokered ceasefire, while Ukrainian officials said that one person had been killed by Russian drone and artillery strikes in the past 24 hours. The ceasefire was initially announced to run Saturday through Monday to mark the Russian celebration of defeating Nazi Germany. A critically endangered species of Kenya's forests are being reintroduced to the wild. The mountain bongos are a rare antelope with fewer than 100 left in the wild. A conservancy is breeding them, hoping to hit their target of 750 wild bongos by 2050.
This is still Afternoon Delight on One News. Ako po si Lourdes Vera.
At ako naman po si Denise Tan. Magandang hapon pong muli.
As we reported earlier, the CIDG has issued a subpoena against Senator Bato de la Rosa. And over the weekend, there were also reports that the ICC is ready to arrest the Duterte ally in the Senate. The details in this report.
The CIDG will issue a subpoena to General De La Rosa to appear personally before the CIDG office here in aid of investigation of the previous crimes.
Former PNP chief and now Senator Bato de la Rosa will be subpoenaed. That was the focus of the press conference of Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla. The subpoena will come from the PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, and de la Rosa will have to appear in person. This stems from the investigation of the House Quad Committee into de la Rosa's role in the alleged extrajudicial killings in the Davao region.
He has never been personally investigated. This was triggered, again, by the rumors of the impending red notice, and we have now taken it upon ourselves to continue the investigation of these matters. It's all related to the 100-plus complaints of EJK that occurred during his term as City Director and Regional Director of Davao.
Remulla clarifies this is not an arrest warrant. He also says this has nothing to do with the International Criminal Court.
I will repeat, we are not a member of the ICC. We are not working with the ICC. This is a purely internal matter. There will be no handcuffs. It is merely a subpoena for investigation, not an arrest warrant.
But when asked if the subpoena was connected to the Quadcom hearing, why only now? Remulla said,
Again, it is a renewed interest because of all the rumors that were sparking. Just to set things clear, we decided to do it the proper way, to investigate in the proper way, and to debunk all the rumors that have been circulating.
information circulated that the ICC had allegedly ordered the arrest of Senator De La Rosa. According to a trusted News 5 source, Interpol representatives were also ready in the Philippines for De La Rosa's arrest. But according to the ICC, it has not issued any public arrest warrant. It can be recalled on March 7 last year, the ICC Pre-Trial Chamber 1 issued an arrest against former President Rodrigo Duterte. The warrant was classified as secret. 4 days later, on March 11, the arrest warrant was made public. On the same day, the former president was arrested. But for now, the DILG says it has not received any information or copy of such a warrant.
We do not have a red notice for General De La Rosa. Okay, news has been circulating. I have not seen a copy. I have no information of a copy.
Remulla also says he has disbanded the task force that was supposedly formed to arrest De La Rosa.
Well, as I said, there is a 10,000-man task force that, okay, let me just make it clear, okay. That was in reaction to reports that there was an impending warrant. However, the ICC has said that there is none, okay? So we have dismantled that task force.
Remulla believes De La Rosa is in the Davao region. He says police have also been alerted for the serving of the subpoena. News 5 tried to get a statement from Senator De La Rosa and his legal counsel, but they have yet to respond. Rumors about an arrest warrant against the senator have been circulating since November 2025. Since then, he has not appeared in public and has not reported to the Senate. De La Rosa was among those named as an alleged co-perpetrator of former President Duterte in the case of crimes against humanity. This is in connection with the bloody war on drugs under the previous administration, where De La Rosa served as PNP chief.
Meantime, lawyer Nicholas Kaufman says it was Duterte's legal partner Hanilet Avancenia and daughter Kitty Duterte who advised him to step down as a former president's legal counsel. Kaufman told News 5 that Kitty informed him that they had already chosen new legal representation. The former lead defense counsel has also verified the arrangement with the replacement counsel and sought Duterte's permission before formally withdrawing. Kaufman was originally tapped to represent Mr. Duterte for 1 year, but the engagement was terminated on March 31st, 2026. Duterte is now awaiting trial for alleged crimes against humanity, the ICC.
Here now is a quick rundown of more stories on One News. U.S. President Donald Trump called Iran's response to America's peace proposal totally unacceptable. He did not provide further details. According to reports, Iran has proposed terms including an end to fighting, relief from sanctions, and security guarantees for shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. At least 24 of 38 Filipino crew members of the cruise ship MV Hondius will be evacuated to the Netherlands. That's for a 42-day quarantine after the hantavirus outbreak. The remaining 14 Filipino crew will stay on board to help sail the ship to Rotterdam before also undergoing quarantine. The Department of Health said all 38 Pinoy crew have tested negative for the virus and that the hantavirus has not entered the Philippines. Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla said former Bucor Chief Gerald Bantag and former police officer Rafael Dumlao III are now subjects of Interpol Red Notices. There is also one for fugitive gambling tycoon Atong Ang, who is now being tagged in the missing Sabongeros case. A similar request against former lawmaker Zaldico is awaiting approval. And Pag-asa continues to monitor Tropical Depression Kaloy as it slows down over the Philippine Sea. It was last spotted 475 kilometers east of Giwan, eastern Samar. It is forecast to continue moving northwestward in the next 12 hours, far from Philippine landmass. It may weaken further into a remnant low today.
In other news, Peanut Gallery Media Network, or PGMN, has released its 2-hour documentary. The film accused former House Speaker Martin Romualdez of corruption over the national budget. Here's the story.
Peanut Gallery Media Network has released the full video it previously teased online, involving former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. In the nearly 2-hour documentary titled The Scandal That Should Finally End Martin Romualdez, or the Martin Luther Fund episode, PGMN anchor CJ Hero narrates allegations of government corruption involving Romualdez. In a social media post following the release of the documentary, Hero said she is innocent and very much alive. She also claimed that efforts were made to stop the episode from being released. The NBI has since issued a subpoena against her. Before the documentary's release, PGMN founder Franco Mabanta broke his silence after he, along with 4 others, was released from the NBI detention facility in Muntinlupa after posting bail of 120,000 pesos each. Mabanta claimed they were wrongfully arrested and alleged that the operation was intended to prevent the documentary from being released. He said the group possesses messages, timelines, and names to support its claims, which will be presented at the proper time and in the proper venue. Attorney Bernice Rodriguez, lawyer for Mabanta, said they remain confident the case will be dismissed.
We are going to be waiting for the resolution of the case. Hopefully it will be a dismissal. We are very positive and confident that it's a dismissal. If not, then we're going to fight it out. We're very confident of our legal defense. And again, my clients are innocent. There was no crime, there was no extortion, and they are being unfairly judged now by the public.
When asked about the subpoena issued by the NBI against Hero, she declined to comment further.
Let's now see some stories from our media partners. On the Philippine Star, the Senate may convene as an impeachment court by Wednesday, May 13. That's upon receipt of the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte. Some senators are preparing legal teams and reviewing the House Justice Committee report. There are also expectations of pre-trial delays and legal debates over implications of a mid-trial resignation by the Vice President. On Business World, the Philippine peso may weaken to the 61 level against the US dollar this week as markets await the end to the 10-week Gulf War. Rising oil prices and cautious investor sentiment are expected to keep the peso trading within a range of 60.40 to 60.90 against the greenback this week. However, a negative response from Iran to America's truce proposal will again spur demand for the dollar as a safe haven currency. Now, for more details of these stories, you can visit the social media pages of the Philippine Star and Business World. Do check out as well the social media platforms of One News PH for the very latest news.
All right, at this point, we hit pause on the hard news and talk about something that concert enthusiasts will appreciate.
And with us now is Mikhail Sham, CEO of Third Culture Entertainment. Welcome to Afternoon Delight, Mikhail. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I wish we could talk about music for the rest of the show. Right? Enough about impeachment, stuff like that. All right, tell us, please, about Third Culture Entertainment and its range of entertainment formats, please.
Yes, sure. So Third Culture Entertainment is an entertainment group. We have a few different formats, the main one being Film Concerts PH, which is what we're going to be talking about today, which is the format of having a live movie play with a live orchestra synchronized as well. And then we're expanding into other formats, which are what we call globally location-based entertainment, immersive entertainment, so VR-based stuff, which I can reveal a bit more about later.
All right. What is the appeal of a live score against a cinematic backdrop?
Well, I like to call it a four-dimensional experience almost, because it's like watching a movie at home, except you're in a room shared with other fans of whatever the movie may be, and you have the live orchestra. I mean, the live orchestra, if you're familiar, you've seen some before, it just adds a layer of magic, I think, to the experience.
And the logistical challenges of putting up something like this.
Oh, so I mean, these are shows that we bring in, so they're global. So the logistical challenges, yes, there's a synchronization for the conductor with the movie, and there's a special technology, that special format of the movie where the music is taken out and it's played live, so it's just the dialogue that's on the screen,
Nice.
and the movie that's playing, and the sound effects and everything. So
Okay, so for people who are not exactly familiar with film concerts, haven't experienced it, you talked about it saying it's a four-dimensional experience.
Yeah.
What can they expect, really?
Well, you're in a room with a lot of other fans. I think this is what makes it a special experience. So the moments you like in a movie, because a lot of these fans know the movies by heart, of course. You can cheer, or in the case of Harry Potter, with when they name the houses, or big moments in the film, people start cheering, or people come dressed also in they cosplay quite a lot. So that's all extra, let's say, experiential elements for the crowd.
I guess we call them geeks. No, kidding. No. All right, the fans.
The fans.
Okay, this is a personal question, but what do you think is about modern cinema, with the exception, of course, of this, we're talking about Harry Potter. I think it's one of the classics, but
Yeah.
there's something about this. Modern cinema's lost something in the sense that we don't get immortal soundtracks anymore, like the generation of John Williams.
Yes.
etc.
So, I mean,
Is that a valid observation?
I beg to differ a little
Yes,
bit.
please.
Well, we have the new, Hans Zimmer, I think, is the one person who, if you name all these last famous movies that came out with his scores, from Interstellar to, he originally wrote The Lion King, that's already older, but the new soundtrack for Dune, for example, the new Dune movie that's coming out end of the year, that's all Hans Zimmer. So he, I'd say, is this generation's John Williams. But John Williams, obviously, for me, he's the OG.
I guess
Star
it's
Wars.
in terms of melodic, hummability. There's probably it's a matter of taste.
Yes.
Probably.
Taste, and also I think the technological evolution of how the soundtracks are made. Now a lot of electronic instruments are used, synthesizers. You're using digitally produced sounds. Back in the day with John Williams, he was recording the orchestras live and then using excerpts of that or recording the whole soundtrack.
And that's what you're doing.
Takes. Well, we're doing it but live, so it's not even recorded.
Because you can easily argue that the sound of half of that orchestra we can easily replicate with synthesizers.
I beg to differ.
I'm a purist myself.
Yeah, I've noticed.
I'm just messing with you. Sorry.
Okay, I want to go back to Harry Potter, because we have been showing a lot of videos about Harry Potter, and they are celebrating their 25th anniversary as a global sensation. What kind of milestone does this represent for Film Concerts Philippines, and how would the Goblet of Fire concert fit into all of this?
So, we have a partnership with Warner Brothers, the owners of the rights, and we're presenting the whole series actually of all the Harry Potter films, 8 of them, and this is, I think it's a favorite amongst a lot of the fans, the Goblet of Fire. You have the Triwizard Tournament, for those that know. It's a big competition where the wizards fight against other schools, and I think it's not a specific milestone that this show is happening on the 25th anniversary, but it's just a big celebration of the Harry Potter series and all of the what they call Potterheads out there.
Potterheads.
Yeah.
Okay, one extra syllable and it gets dangerous. What is the future of this immersive experience? Aside from the the 4D, what else is, with the help of AI, what is the next frontier?
Well, of course, I think it's the creation of the material itself. That's where things can eventually change big time. So, in maybe not on the concert side, but let's say the immersive, VR stuff, that's all computer-generated animations. And obviously now that's done by humans, of course, who have the creativity part and stuff. But not too long from now, I think a lot of it can be automated. The ideas will be still coming from humans, I think, initially, but at some point that can all be automated. So it might take the originality out of it, the real spark of human creativity, which is one of the big debates these days with AI anyways.
All hail our AI overlords.
Okay, Mikhail, I also want to ask you, what do you think, what kind of impact would this have on maybe introducing orchestra or orchestral music to younger generation, as well as first-time audiences who haven't really experienced anything like this.
Gateway.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think this is one of the main reasons why I get into this, or I work in this business of, bringing people together, making them experience something positive, ideally. For kids, many of them, it's the first time they actually see a live orchestra. And that makes a big impact. And I've overheard it before, after a show, where a little kid goes, Mommy, I want to learn the violin after that. And then the mom always says like, oh my God, that's going to be mahal. But
Mommy, I want to be a DJ.
also,
Buy me a Technics.
also mahal. But no, and that's really what, you can see the inspiration firsthand, or at least I've seen it in one or two instances. And I think the impact of it, to answer the second part of your question, is that, the live orchestra has a big impact. Hearing the music live, we've had a lot of first-time orchestra, people who have experienced an orchestra for the first time, and their reaction is truly, the feedback we get on social media is, it's heightened emotions. They can't watch a movie just on its own on a screen without a live orchestra ever again. It really adds a new layer, I'd say, of
an
emotion.
army of violins and violas and cellos.
Oh yeah.
That cannot be replicated by any synthesizer. Sorry, that's just me. Yeah. Okay, so is it expensive? Let's say a typical Filipino movie fan would find, let's say, it's a challenge for, let's say, 500 pesos, or 700 pesos. But I guess for this kind, you have to save a little bit.
Yes, these are still, theater productions. I'd put it in between, a cinema experience and, let's say, a full-on Broadway musical. We're somewhere in between, in the middle. So that's how we try to price ourselves. So it's a theater, so the cheapest seats go from, depending on what movie it is, 1.5 pesos.
Oh.
And then for the most expensive, the best seats in the house, it can go anywhere from 6.5 to 7.5.
And the best seats in the house, the one in the back.
Actually, the balcony.
Okay.
Yeah,
very classical.
Because you can see the orchestra, you can see the screen, the acoustics are good.
Yeah, but with their K-pop idols, they're willing to pay 10,000,
Oh yeah,
20,000.
K-pop orchestra also exists.
You sneaky man.
Have to tease a little bit.
Okay, so what else can we expect from Film Concerts PH as well as Third Culture Entertainment?
That's the exciting part. I think we have a couple of movies coming up. Obviously, the Harry Potter one, the fourth show in the series. Then we have a Star Wars show, if there's any old school Star Wars fans out there. Return of the Jedi in concert, the end of the original trilogy. And then we have a lot of Japanese anime concerts as well, which we've been doing, which have been doing very well. Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli with an orchestra, but that's only with music. That's only with music, though, no screen. So we change it up a little bit sometimes because there's also an appetite for just hearing the music, and some shows don't exist with the movie itself. So we just do the music only.
And those geeks have it all memorized. Anyway.
And then apart from that, we're opening under Third Culture Entertainment, not under the film concerts, we're opening a VR immersive experience, which is a bit more social gaming. It's like a new kind of laser tag, but you have a gun, obviously a toy gun, and a VR headset, and it's without cables, and you can play up to 6 people like you're in a video game altogether. So there will be more about that.
It's not based on any film.
Well, no, it's a brand that we're bringing in called Zero Latency VR. But there are actually going to be games based on movies. But I will reveal that. It'll be revealed further.
Okay.
I hope you get Basic Instinct. The rights to Basic Instinct.
That would be R-rated, though.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry.
Well, maybe you can talk about that next time we have you on the show.
Sure, would love to.
Thank you. Do you have any more questions?
I want his records, vinyl records. But he said he left it all at home. So
they're being well kept.
We thank you, of course, for your time. Thank you again for being here again. That was Mikhail Sham, CEO of Third Culture Entertainment.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you for having me.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You shook my hand. I get records.
All right, again, this is Afternoon Delight on One News. We just need to pause for another break. We'll be right back.
May 11th, 1973. Charges are dropped against Daniel Ellsberg for leaking the Pentagon Papers during the Vietnam War. A judge cites government misconduct by officials in President Richard Nixon's White House, illegal wiretaps on Ellsberg's phone, and a break-in at his psychiatrist's office. Years later, Ellsberg tells the Associated Press that he had to release the papers, a secret government study of America's role in Vietnam.
It did prove to be helpful to put out this information, and it certainly was worth the risks that I ran.
1997. In New York, world chess champ Garry Kasparov loses a 6-game match against IBM's Deep Blue computer. Afterward, Kasparov demands a rematch, a challenge which IBM declines. 1888.
God bless America.
Composer Irving Berlin is born in Belarus, then part of the Russian Empire. Among his songs, God Bless America, White Christmas, and There's No Business Like Show Business. In 1981, Bob Marley, the singer-songwriter who is considered reggae's biggest star, dies of cancer in Miami. He was 36. Today in history, May 11th. Camille Bohannon, The Associated Press.
Bati na happy anniversary sa DOT. And you're still watching Afternoon Delight. Thank you for staying with us.
And our delight of the week, ang theme daw natin ay may tomato sauce. Kaya naman meron tayong ngayong spaghetti.
Nako, napakarami niyan. May tomato sauce.
Oo. Naku.
Nako, kinakabahan
Endless
ako.
possibilities.
May
Pati
dish
mga
akong
ulam.
alam na may tomato sauce pero nilalagyan na rin ng pinya.
Ano yun?
Afritada.
May pinya?
Oh,
Hindi kasi madalas magluto ng afritada ang mother.
ako rin.
Oo.
Basta kahit anong may pinya, magtatapos ang programa.
Okay, sige. Ano tikman na natin? You wanna taste it?
Sige. Tomato sauce ba to? Yes.
Oo.
Of course. Ito. Tomato sauce. Alam mo, kahit
Sige,
ano pwede
pinapay
mong lagyan
muna
ng
sa
tomato sauce eh. Ang tomato sauce ay hindi po ketchup. Tandaan niyo po yan. Pero,
Diba, yeah.
pag sa Pinoy spaghetti, laban na yan. Diba? Lalo na yung mga spaghetti na nilalagay sa supot, yung binibenta sa kalye.
Ah, may mga take-out. Pag gutom ka, dapat di ka, labang ka talaga sa ganun. Kung saan mo man nakuha yan. Anyway, okay, sige. Bago pa tayo mapahaba sa usapang spaghetti, ito, punta muna tayo sa Pangasinan, kung nasaan ang MPTC Tour of Luzon, and our mobile journalist Denise Valdez Sancho is again also there for the action. Sa Wednesday na yung tapos ng tour, Denise, ano nang status ng race dyan?
Nakangiti si Denise, oh.
Yes.
Parang pauwi na.
Naku, hindi pa kami pauwi, Lord and Denise. On the way kami ngayon sa Lingayen. Dahil katatapos nga lang ng Stage 12 race ng Tour of Luzon 2026. At wagi dyan, si Antoine uwi ng 7-Eleven Click Road Bike Philippines. Natapos niya yung race in 3 hours, 17 minutes and 37 seconds from Agoo to mga Tarem, Pangasinan. Isa na naman siyang uphill battle, pero tinanong ko si Antoine, ano ba yung mas mahirap dahil siya rin yung nanalo doon sa stage in Besang Pass. Yung sa Besang Pass ba, or dito paakyat sa Daang Kalikasan, mga Tarem. Mas nahirapan daw siya dito dahil bilang French siya, hindi siya sanay sa init ng Pilipinas at napakainit nga naman dito sa Pangasinan ngayon dahil syempre kabundukan, walang masyadong puno, talagang hindi covered. Open road talaga yung naging race. Naging breakaway, ito nangyari dito at humabol sa kanya si Nikita Shulchenko na siya pa rin nangunguna sa bilang leader after stage 12. So nauwi ni Nikita yung yellow jersey, habang ito namang si Antonio Yubi, aside sa purple jersey, siya yung most combative rider. Sa kanya, ang red jersey, si Ibrahim Al-Refai pa rin, yung best young rider, habang si Ronnie Lankita naman yung king of the mountain for stage 12, while Ivan Anisimov is still the winner in the individual points. So kanya yung green jersey. So ngayon, aabangan natin how things will be shaken up tomorrow sa individual time trial. Lingayen to Lingayen, na 20 kilometers, 1-minute interval per ride.
Ako, sisip.
Lord Denise.
Balita ko nga, napaka-thrilling daw nitong kakatapos siyang na stage na to. Ganda daw ng ng
Yes.
karera. Pero ito bang Frenchman na ito, sumali na sa Tour de France?
Yes, meron siyang experience sa Tour de France. Yun nga yung talk of the town ngayon dahil talagang world-class yung experience ni Anton Ubi. At usap-usapan din yung kanyang Strava kasi after each ride, pinopost niya sa Strava yung kanyang mga nagiging races. At yung mga tao napapansin na parang sinisisiw lang ni Anton itong mga races, lalo na yung mga uphill climbs. Pero kanina sa interview, sabi niya hindi. Nahihirapan pa rin daw talaga siya. At tumataas pa rin yung kanyang heart rate. Pero iba nga kasi talaga yung training nila, Anton, compared to the other riders, giving him this kind of ganitong klaseng panalo. So tinanong ko rin, going to Baguio, madali na lang ba for you itong akyat? Sabi niya mahirap pa rin daw pero focus muna siya sa individual time trials tomorrow.
Denise, given na nag-race na siya dun sa Tour de France, anong assessment niya dito sa Tour of Luzon? Kasi madaming positive feedback ang nakukuha natin from the riders as well.
As for the other riders, hindi ko pa kasi matatanong si Anton kung ano nga bang assessment niya of the tour. Pero other riders say talagang other foreign riders at least, not the Pinoys, ay mga good training itong tour dito sa Pilipinas given the conditions. Dahil iba nga talaga if you're racing under the heat, under these kinds of weather, and yung mga ganitong paahon, yung mga kabundukan. Kaya they would always join. Kahit yung mga Korean cyclists, tinanong bakit nangunguna kayong mag-register bago pa itong Tour of Luzon, dahil nga gustong-gusto nila yung mga ganitong weathers and conditions kasi it prepares them for bigger competitions ahead. So hopefully nga, maging UCI accredited na itong Tour of Luzon in the future as they wish.
Denise, okay. Sa mga viewers natin, baka sa perspective nila, parang okay lang, pero gaano ba kabilis, halimbawa, yung mga paahon, pababa, nito mga bisikletang ito, let's say, bigyan mo kami ng parang, tansya mo lang, in terms of kilometers per hour.
Well, kung patag, if I'm not mistaken, around 40 kilometers per hour, tumatakbo, kumakaripas itong mga riders natin. Pero kanina, yung mga paahon, unti-unti makikita mo yung term nga nila, tinatahinan nila yung daan. Kasi from a peloton or from a group, nagiging isa-isa na lang yung mga nag-aahonan at kinatahinan nila kasi nagiging madulas, nahihirapan na talaga sila going uphill. But then, syempre nakakapagpahinga kapag pababa na. Pero sobrang bagal kanina. Nung inaabangan namin siya, Anton, sa finish line, mabagal talaga siya compared dun sa mga stages na puro patag lang, na talagang kailangan mong humarang kasi napakadelikado. Parang mabilis talaga siya. Hindi, dadaan lang siya sa'yo sa sobrang bilis niya compared dito sa mga climbs kanina na makikita mo sila isa-isa, hinihingal, yung iba naglalaway. Kasi sobrang init na nga. Meron, yes, Lord, mga naglalaway. Yung iba, in the Besang Pass stage, may hinimatay si Marvin Mandak. Ganong ka-intense yung situations dito. Well, today wala namang hinimatay, pero yung iba hindi na kinaya. Once na makapunta sa finish line, ikigil na lang sa gilid, kailangan na talagang itulak yung iba para makapunta dun sa mga tent nila. So that's how crucial and grueling the races are.
Nakita ko yung videos dun sa Besang Pass. Parang hindi makapagsalita yung mga racers, tapos nagbubuhos na lang ng tubig sa ulo. Pero Denise, again, just to give us an idea, gaano ba kataas yung inakyat nila? Tsaka gaano ba kainit? Ano bang temperatura dyan ngayon?
Yung sa Besang Pass, this is 146 kilometers, about 1,000. Isang KOM kasi to, so mga ganong kataas yung elevation niya. 1,500, if I'm not mistaken. So, yung sa Besang Pass, yun, mataas-taas din, 1,500 yung elevation gain niya. Kaya mataas talaga siya. Kasi halimbawa sa mga hikers, di ba, ang taas-taas na nung mga ganong meters above sea level. What more kapag aahunin mo siya as a cyclist. So let's see how it's gonna be tomorrow and then in the final stage sa Baguio, Lord Denise.
Matindi. Minsan ang sukatan mo rin kung gaano kabilis pag yung driver. Iniiwan ako nito alam mo, sinasakyan ni Denise ngayon, ano? Kapag lumagpas sa, let's say, 4th or 5th gear na, mabilis talaga yung sasakyan na yun. Yung nagpipedal. Pero totoo ba na yung pinaka-last stage daw sa EDSA? Hindi totoo, no, Denise?
Sa EDSA?
Oo.
Sa Baguio? Tayo?
Oh, parang monumento raw hanggang Pasay.
Monumento? Babalik pala sa Maynila.
Kasabay daw yung traffic. Hindi totoo yan. Chismis yun. Pero wag ganun.
Mahirap na
Masubukan
challenge
next
yun.
time. Kaya sa EDSA.
Kaya sa EDSA, subukan. Nako, Denise.
Susubukan ni Denise.
Okay,
Oo,
so
ikaw
after
ang
yung
alay.
Lingayen, ano yung susunod na stage saan?
After Lingayen to Lingayen, it's gonna be Lingayen to Baguio. That's the mountain finale. Road race again, 177.8 kilometers. So, kita-kits sa malaking ulo ng leon in Baguio.
Hindi naman sila kukulitin ng mga nagbebenta ng walis.
Hindi naman siguro,
peanut
at pagod
brittle,
pa.
mga ganun.
Oo.
Pwede yan.
Okay, sige, wag na rin natin kulitin ng ating mobile journalist na Denise Valdez Sancho. Denise, ingat ka. Salamat sa iyong report.
Para kay Denise Valdez Sancho itong isang serving ng pasta. Susubo ko.
Sige,
Sa lahat ng mga racers.
alay mo. Namnamin mo yan. Okay, sige. May oras pa ba para bumate? Bawi na lang tayo bukas. Pwede? Hindi. Sige, magpaalam na tayo. Hindi pa pala. Okay, punta muna tayo ngayon to Amy Atienza, our mobile journalist, to see what's happening at the House plenary. Amy?
Yes, good afternoon, Lord Denise. Nandito na ulit tayo sa House of Representatives. Ito nang nasa likuran ko, ito mismo yung plenary session at nakikita natin dito mismo sa area na unti-unti nang pumapasok yung mga gustong makinig para nga doon sa plenary session na mangyayari ngayong araw. So far, nagsisimula na mismo yung plenary session pero abangan pa natin. Probably may mga roll calls pa and of course, yung sponsorship speech nga na sinasabi ko na pangungunahan din yung Representative Jerby Luistro tungkol nga dito sa impeachment articles at doon sa impeachment mismo ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Kani-kanina lamang naglabas na ng statement ang National Unity Party expressing their confidence na kakayanin din daw ng Senado na magawa ang kanilang responsibilidad na mag-convene nga a Senate Impeachment Court dahil nakikita na rin natin at nakakausap na rin natin yung ilang mga mambabatas dito expressing their confidence that the impeachment articles will gather enough votes para nga matransmit sa Senate. So titingnan na lang natin kung ano nga ba, who will prevail for today, the Filipino people or Vice President Sara Duterte. So yan yung tututukan natin para nga sa plenary session na magsisimula na maya-maya lamang.
Alright. Abangan natin yan. Thank you sa ating mobile journalist sa Batasang Pambansa, si Amy Atienza, nagbabantay dyan. Kamera.
Okay, maraming salamat po sa panonood ng Afternoon Delight. Ako po si Denise Tan.
Ako naman po si Lord De Vera, mga kapatid. Magbabalik kami bukas. 2:00 yung punto.